Welcome to Miss Connect M3 Byte podcast recorded on the 18th of January 2025. I'm Helen King and my Byte today is titled, What's Your Position in Bed? It's often been said there are two types of people. The two types take various forms depending on who's making the statement. I beg to differ. I'd like to suggest there are three types of people and three positions. To be more precise, there are three types of mindset. Between them, these three mindsets, believer, explorer, and decider, represent the bed spectrum. Travel along a bed spectrum is almost always in one direction only, from believer to decider and from decider to explorer. With that said, it's not uncommon to fast track straight from believer to explorer. So, what does a bed spectrum look like? It has a group called believers at one end and another group of explorers at the other end. Between these two groups, at opposing ends of the bed spectrum, is a third group, the deciders. I'll outline each of the three groups, the three mindsets, in turn. The believers. These are characterised by an unwavering and unshakable belief in the mainstream media, the government, and those entities often referred to as the authorities. Such authorities include councils, the police, the civil service and other public servant bodies, including the Charity Commission, or as they are sometimes referred to, public serpents. The belief, held by believers, relates to both the accuracy and truth the content, emanates from these sources. Believers' belief also extends to the intention of the authorities. To show what this belief looks like, I'll use a fictitious scenario. Any resemblance to actual events is completely coincidental. In this fictitious scenario, a new government has recently been elected in a Western nation, let's say the UK. The newly elected government has breached some of the promises it made to get elected. This is fictitious, of course, but let's pretend the new government has done a U-turn on increasing national insurance and has also done a U-turn on keeping a winter fuel allowance for the elderly. In other words, it has broken its election promises on both of these points. How does a believer respond to this scenario? They respond by continuing to believe that there is nothing wrong with breaking these promises or breaching its contract with the electorate and that the government is trustworthy. A believer in such a scenario may make excuses for breach of promise and contract, and even, perhaps, deny there has been a breach. Critical thinking is, to a believer, like garlic to a vampire or a vet surgery to a dog. Don't go there, it's dangerous. The explorers. These are at the opposite end of the bed spectrum, are characterised by an eagerness to expose oneself to and actively seek out new ideas, information and narratives. They are often also enthusiastic about sharing with others the new ideas, information and narratives they have discovered. Such ideas, information and narratives arise from a range of sources but have one thing in common. They challenge the official narratives and beliefs held by many people. The response by an explorer to the same fictitious scenario as before is quite different from that of a believer. An explorer will explore whether decision makers in the government have behaved in a deceptive or fraudulent way in the past, explore what could result, perhaps for the safety of the people or for democracy, if the breach of contract is repeated, explore whether the current political system is inadequate to serve its purpose because it has allowed such a breach to take place without penalty to the perpetrators. These are, of course, just examples. There are many other behaviours that an explorer will show in response to such a fictitious situation. In contrast to a believer, however, an explorer will not believe that the current government is trustworthy when the evidence to the contrary suggests it's not. Believe there is nothing wrong with breaking election promises or breaching a contract the government made with the people. Make excuses for the breach of promise. Deny there has been a breach. The deciders. These people fall, as they do, between the believers and the explorers on the bed spectrum. And they're a lot like the group called by marketeers the movable middle, often wrongly overlooked they have the potential to make all the difference in the world. When it comes to the deciders, in the same fictitious scenario, they show a much broader range of responses than believers or explorers. The most important thing for a decider is doubt. Doubt can be thought of as a bit like a germ. In fact, with that in mind, vaccines have been developed specifically to prevent people from being affected by doubt. Seriously. There are so-called inoculations against so-called conspiracy theories designed to keep people as believers. But returning to the deciders, a believer transforms into a decider as a result of either finding out something or seeing something in a new way. In our scenario, finding out a fictitious government newly elected has breached promises it made to get elected in the first place will result, for some, in doubt about further narratives from that same government. Those doubts may take the form of some or all of the following questions. Can this government be trusted? And what can it be trusted about? Why, when challenged about the issue, was the matter treated so superficially? Will the current political system prevent such an apparent breach from happening again? These are, again, merely examples. For many people, the doubt won't lead to question, at least not immediately. It will instead remain dormant, perhaps until the conditions are right for the doubt to bloom. One of the ways deciders are different from other groups is that, a lot of the time, it's not clear that they are deciders. Believers usually reveal themselves at an early stage, such as when their views are challenged. I say their view. Often it's not their own view, but somebody else's view they're bought into, which they're defending. Explorers, similarly, usually show their true colours early on as well. Failure to obey orders is a common sign of being an explorer, along with a lack of trust in authorities, often combined with a lack of enthusiasm for such trust being restored. As a wise old African said, trust is like virginity, it is only lost once. Deciders, however, walk among us, as the saying goes. Unlike explorers, they don't talk openly and enthusiastically about what they've discovered during their explorations, which are still ongoing. They're still deciding, and in terms of the sheer power of numbers will play a key role in deciding which way humanity goes. The deciders are a growing group and growing faster than ever, as reasons to doubt are being given to the world more and more often about more and more things. The deciders are also becoming more vocal. Commentators on media platforms are speaking out about issues that previously were only discussed by explorers, and often only in private. What connects us all as people is becoming stronger than what divides us. Movement along the bed spectrum is in one direction, almost always. It is like water, which naturally flows one way, downhill. It's almost impossible for anyone to go backwards. I would say that the believer and explorer mindsets are similar to the two mindsets described by the author and speaker Julia Galef. Julia's two mindsets of a soldier, a lot like the believer, and the scout, a lot like the explorer. Julia makes a persuasive argument for the benefits of having a scout mindset, which is, as she puts it, the motivation to see things as they are, not as you wish they were. Features of this mindset are curiosity, unbiased truth-seeking, and facing reality, even if that reality is unexpected or unwelcome. In contrast, the soldier mindset defends one's existing beliefs instead of being open to changing them. To put it another way, a soldier only accepts evidence that supports their existing view, and rejects or ignores any evidence that challenges it. The mindset is to follow orders. They believe what they're told to believe. A scout, on the other hand, is open to receiving new evidence, particularly challenging evidence. Their objective is always to seek out the truth, even if the truth is uncomfortable. Julia Galef argues that we choose our beliefs in the same way we choose our clothes, on the basis of how they make us appear to other people. Changing our beliefs is often difficult, in part because it can threaten how well we belong in a group or circle. This belonging difficulty is shown by the experience of Dr. John Campbell and other YouTubers. John, in particular, has been exploring for some time narratives that challenge his previously firmly held beliefs. John, along with other YouTubers who follow evidence as opposed to doctrine, has his own dedicated troll. He's not the first to do that, and he won't be the last. Such trolls publish videos on YouTube about John's own videos, but these critiques appear to be personal attacks intended to lose support for him, as opposed to reasoned critiques of the content of his videos. One of the reasons for such criticism of John and other YouTubers is perhaps that they've stopped being believers. John now follows the evidence, as he says, wherever it may lead. These critiques, as obvious in intention and poor on reasoned argument as they appear to be, will not and cannot prevent the mass movement along the bed spectrum, however. That's not going to happen. As I said, the deciders will play a key role in deciding which way humanity goes. So, my last question is for you and anyone. Where do you fit on the bed spectrum? Are you a believer, or are you more of an explorer? Or are you moving gradually on a path as a decider? One quick check you can do for yourself is to answer this question. Whenever you find yourself in a discussion about a subject where the views are not in tune with your own, is your personal objective to be right or to discover the truth? If it's the latter, that makes you an explorer. Well, that's my current thinking on this subject of critical thinking today. But I wonder, what are your thoughts? And most important of all, where are you on the bed? Thank you for listening to this Thought Byte today. I hope it's given you further things to think about on this important subject of critical thinking. For further information on this and related subjects, do check out the PDF version of this article, reference 5035A. It contains a number of links to supporting articles, plus links to many other enlightening and fascinating articles on a whole variety of topics. Meanwhile, I look forward to sharing my next Thought Byte with you very soon. Goodbye.